I just realised a little more clearly last night how my own judgment is just a huge block
Yep.
in front of me.
Yeah.
And all I could do was get through to some pain and just a little flash with God this morning, but clearly it's taking me more time to break down this resistance.
Yep. Can I talk a bit about judgment?
Thank you.
Is that all right? And then maybe you might want to still remember your question. Let's look at what's driving judgment, shall we? If we're going to understand our emotional self, we're going to have to, at some point, understand what's really going on inside of ourselves, right? And that means becoming sensitive to what the flow of emotion within ourselves and what stops it. So you could say that the emotion, whatever the emotion is that you're feeling, starts to flow, right? So before it starts to flow, it's just energy that's locked up inside of you. Energy locked up inside of you. Once it's in motion, it becomes an emotion, something that is now passing through you. Now, once this emotion starts passing through you, what happens next? What happens internally next is the question, right? Now, when you judge, what happens? The emotion starts flowing, and what's the feeling that comes up prior to judgment? Let yourself feel your judgments. Like, don't just jump out with the answers. Just feel what happens inside of yourself, right? Your emotions flowing. You're starting to cry. You're starting to have tears come down your face, let's say, or you're starting to shake, or you're starting to, actually feel the energy in motion inside of yourself, and then what happens? So Matt, if we can start with the mic.
Well, to start with, my desire to feel that feeling just like goes down very quickly.
It does, but why? There's got to be something that makes it go down, isn't there? Can you see that? Yep, Laura?
For me, it's a belief system.
Okay, I agree. It's a belief of some kind. So there's a belief of some kind. Now, all beliefs are emotional, right? They're all emotions. All right, so what's happening? Mel?
I think for me, it's, and I'm not always conscious of it, but it's a lack of desire to choose something different.
Yeah, but if you intellectually know that if you chose to go and feel this emotion that something is going to improve in your life, but emotionally you don't know that, which is what we're really saying, isn't it? Because if emotionally we knew it, we would do it. So the fact is we're not doing it, so emotionally we don't know that it's actually beneficial. So there's got to be something going on. We've got one emotion flowing. So let's say it's the emotion of grief that starts to flow. That's now starting to flow. Now there's got to be something else happening to stop the flow of that emotion. It's got to be an emotion in itself, doesn't it? Does that agree? So, Matt?
I'm just thinking on my own experience. A lot of the time, I'll start having a thought of what someone else would think.
Okay, so what's that?
Fear, judgment.
Fear. It's fear of what?
Of them.
Them. Fear of them. What are they going to do with what I feel? What
Yeah.
are they going to think about what I'm feeling? What are they going to do after I feel in front of them? What are they going to do? So can you see the emotion of grief is flowing? And so this belief is causing an emotion of?
Fear.
Fear. Okay. All right, so the emotion starts flowing. The belief cuts it off. Right, through the flow of the emotion of fear now. So what's the thing we need to do to right this problem? We've now got fear. What do? It's an emotion. So we allow the flow of the fear. Right? That's what we need to do. Right? If you do not do that, you will accept the belief. Right? The belief will become true to you. As soon as that belief becomes true, you are now shutting down the emotion because that belief says you've got to. The belief says you've got to shut down the emotion. So what is the main problem? You are not willing to feel fear when you go judgmental. So judgmental emotions are all about fears. They're all about what you're afraid of. Mary? And then Karina?
So what I experience is, or what I don't experience, is I begin to feel an emotion, and then I'm aware that I have a fear of how my parents, feeling how my parents judge that emotion.
Yep.
And I don't want to feel it, so I judge myself in the way that they would have judged me, and it stops everything.
Yep. So why don't you want to feel their judgment?
Yeah, I'm afraid of the pain that I suppressed as a result of their judgment.
Correct. The only reason why we don't allow fear to flow is because in the end, we don't like to experience pain. Because everything is going to be related to pain. The biggest problem that we have in the world we live in is that nobody wants to feel their pain. Most of you don't want to do it even in your relationship. That's why you're blaming the other person all the time, right? Oh, but they did this, and oh, but they did that, and oh, but they did this. And it's because we don't want to feel our pain. We want to blame our pain on something else. What caused all of the emotional suppression in our soul? How? How did our parents cause our emotional suppression in our soul? No. You think about it. What did they do to themselves? Yeah, Mike.
Suppress their emotions.
They suppressed their own pain. That's what they did. Right? The choice that you make to suppress your pain is exactly the same choice that your parents made to suppress their pain, which created all of your pain. When I say all, no, half of your pain would be more accurate. You know where the other half came from? From yourself doing what?
Unloving acts.
Unloving acts. Right? That's the reason. They're the two only causes of pain. There's only those two causes of pain in the end. So every time you choose to avoid pain, whatever justification you have for it, you are choosing to harm someone else. Right there and then. Every single time. Right? And that's exactly what your parents did to you. So, can you see that our honour, the real problem with all of our processing work is our honour, the honour we give to fear. And the resistance we have towards pain. They are the two only problems we have processing all of our emotions. We honour fear and we resist pain. Right? If you could develop somehow within yourself a desire to feel pain, that would be pretty powerful, because then all of your resistance to your pain would be removed. And if you could also develop within yourself a feeling that you would no longer honour fear, you will no longer value fear over anything else, now both of the impediments to your processing emotion, your going through emotion, would be gone. Now, how much easier is that going to make your life? Heaps easier. If you want to progress towards God, you'll be able to feel an emotion. The fear might come up, the belief might start kicking in, but you don't honour it. You don't honour it emotionally anymore, right? Instead, you just feel the fear that you have, another emotion. You just let it pass through you, the fear. And any pain associated with that fear might come up. There'll be grief under it and stuff. You'll let yourself feel that. And then you'll be back to feeling the original emotion. It'll just be like a small little detour and back to feeling the original emotion. Now, we've been doing a whole series of FAQs about emotions. In the second session, I think it is, we talk about what are the primary problems associated with feeling emotion. We mention the resistance to pain and the honour of fear are those primary problems that everyone's facing. Yeah. Laura?
When the emotion starts to flow and the belief system kicks in, for me it feels like a cap that is almost like a betrayal of myself for a promise that I made in my childhood not to
See what you do with a lot of your emotions. There's no way known you made promises to yourself in your childhood. Do you know why?
No.
Because you didn't have a developed enough mind to do so, or developed enough moral state to do so. This is stuff that New Age spirits just feed you with crap.
Sorry, I mean in the sense of like if a teacher hit me in the classroom, I'd say, don't cry, don't cry. Like,
that's not a promise to yourself. That's a response of fear. That's a feeling. It's not a promise. It's a feeling of fear. You're afraid of crying because you might have violence. That's all it is.
Okay.
You want to view it as a promise to yourself so that you can distance yourself from what it is emotionally. What it is emotionally is fear of somebody violently hurting you. It's fear of pain. That's all it is. Nothing more complicated than that.
So when with the cap, how do you get to the flow of an emotion when the cap just cuts?
What's the cap?
So the cap is, it feels like so that's fear, that numbness.
Yes, it's fear. It's not the promise you made to yourself.
It's not a little, I thought fear might be shaky. It's just not, it just goes like.
It's fear, and you don't want to feel the fear, and that's the problem. That's where it all begins. You don't want to feel it. And you can call it promise to yourself, but it's not a promise to yourself.
It's more like a strong use of my will not to feel.
No. You were taught that every time you felt whatever that original emotion was, that you were going to be violently abused, pain, and you don't want to feel pain. You're afraid of pain. That's where all of your blockages are. There's no such thing as promises you made to yourself. They're just things that happened as a result of our desire to avoid pain. You could call it the beast part of ourselves, the human part of ourselves, not our soul, but the physical part of ourselves, has a physical pain response to certain things. And we need to develop a desire to feel it. Right now, most of you are sitting down and you have no idea what pain you're in. Right? And the reason why is because we've desensitized ourselves to feeling our pain. We don't want to feel our pain. That is our primary problem. If you, as a child, wanted to feel your pain, no matter how much pain came along, you would never have made what you call a promise, which I call fear, be the ascendant thing that controlled your emotion. You would have allowed the emotion to continue. But that's pretty hard for a child to do because it doesn't have a developed intellect, it doesn't have developed emotions, and it doesn't have developed morality until it's like well into its usually, above 7 or much greater than that. And as a result, anything that happened before then is going to be tainted with all these murky areas of morality, emotion, feelings, pain, and avoidance that it's been taught to have. So give yourself a break. It is just fear of pain.
So,
Everything you call a promise is fear of pain.
So I thought I used to veer off with the belief system, which just takes me further away from.
Yes, you want to do
that way.
You want to do that.
Yeah.
Because you know what doing that does?
Well, it takes me away
The
from
more
going
you
down.
use your mind to go off and analyse the belief system, think about the belief system, what is this belief system, I promise I made to myself and all these other things, the more you do that, what are you doing? You're using your intellect to avoid the fear feeling, that's all you're doing.
Yeah, I felt that I was working through belief systems.
No,
but I'm
you're
not,
using your intellect to do exactly what you want to do at your soul level, which is avoid fear,
which is my priority.
which is your priority. Yes. And you need to see that as your priority and go, okay, yeah, a lot of my life is all based around avoiding fear. A lot of my life is all based around pain. And when I say based around pain, based around your fear of pain. You see, if you could let yourself feel pain, then you wouldn't be afraid of it anymore. Right? But most of us are so afraid of it, we can't even let ourselves feel it. And this is our problem. Because we're afraid of our pain and we don't want to feel our pain and we don't want to feel our fear, what we do is we search for other solutions. Yeah? You know what I mean by that?
Totally.
You do that all the time,
All the time.
right? So you know what I mean by that. You search for other solutions, and if that means analysing my belief systems and thinking about this and working out my law of attraction events and working out all these other things, that's where I go, because all that does is help me avoid the feeling of fear.
So it's my addiction.
That's the addiction. That's the addiction in play. So you think you're doing something that's beneficial to yourself, and it's very
I think
counter.
I'm working through my belief systems. Yeah,
No, you're
so
not.
That's how
The belief
distorted I
system
am.
can only be worked through by feeling the fear. That's the irony. Does that make sense? That's the irony of all this. The only way that your belief system is going to change is by you feeling your fear. And when we go and intellectually analyse the belief system, work on the belief system, all those things, which are all responses to avoiding our fear, we are not feeling our fear. And the only thing that is going to help truth enter our soul, right, on that same subject is by releasing the fear that exists on that subject in our soul. That's the only thing that's going to help the shift. The soul has to release one thing in order for the other thing to come into it, right? And when you're analysing your belief and doing all those things, there's no release of anything going on. And because there's no release of anything going on, there is no hope of the truth entering you on that subject. And the truth can't enter you on the subject until the fear has been released. The error, remember, fear is error needing to be released. And without the error being released, the truth cannot enter. The emotion will not flow. And while that happens, doesn't matter how much intellectual work you do, how much study you have, how much listening you do, how much talking you do, anything, it's all driven by the avoidance of the fear. It's all a way, a method that we have to avoid the feeling of the actual emotion we need to feel, which would actually heal us if we allowed ourselves to feel it. And this is where we do many counterintuitive things. We think that analysing it all, working it all out, thinking about our belief systems, all of your belief systems are not thoughts. All of them. They are all feelings that are false and error-based, and therefore there would be fear associated with every single one of them. Every one of them is a feeling. Right? Not a single one of them is a thought. They produce thoughts, but they're all feelings. So unless one of those feelings exits your soul by you feeling it, by you experiencing it, by you going through the emotion of it, the truth on that same thing can't enter your soul. And so while we go around on this intellectual route, examining all of the different possibilities and potentials, philosophizing and reasoning and discussing and all of that, we're actually not aware that we're doing all of that in order to avoid the one thing that will actually help us. All right? Now, you, a person like yourself, who has been treated quite badly as a child, Laura, are going to have lots of ways of doing this. That's the hard part. The hard part is deconstructing the ways and methods that you have to avoid the feeling of it.
Well, it's already scary to think that I'm really running out of addictions. Like there's the of all the physical, like, you know, but
Yep.
It's actually a scary place to now really know that, wow, to write my belief systems, to feel about my belief systems is another addiction and an avoidance.
Correct. Yeah. So what we do initially when we look at our addictions is we look at the physical ones, right? Which are all to do with substances abuse, like, food, alcohol, drugs, pills, telly, sex, all those kind of things. And all of those, of course, are driven by all of our emotional addictions, right? Right? And those emotional addictions, what created the avoidance of our emotional addictions, what created our physical addictions. The thing about physical addictions is they're fail-safe, if I can use that word. What I mean by that is that whenever we have a physical addiction that's met through a physical substance, we don't have to rely on a person. And that's great because people are unreliable, right? Whereas substances are reliable. You get the same. Like, how many of you ladies know chocolate is the best way to feel good for a short period of time? Yeah? Well, you do know that. Like, that's why you take it, right? So you know that's the solution every time. So that's why you want the chocolate. Because it's more reliable than your husband or your wife or your family or your friends in making you feel good for a short period of time. Right? That's the thing about physical addictions, is the substances are more reliable than the people. But once we get rid of the substances, the substance-based addictions, we're left with these emotional addictions, which are all about people, what you do and what you can get from people in order to avoid your fear of your pain. Right? Right? Now, many of the things we do emotionally are all driven by this desire to avoid our pain. So this desire for you to analyse intellectually everything about your belief systems rather than feel what your belief systems are is actually an emotional addiction that helps you avoid pain. There's a little person inside of you who learnt at a very young age that if you could do all this intellectual gymnastics, right, you'd get away from the fear. And it would make you feel like you're in control.
And it's almost like when I hear you speak and then, like look at the belief systems, then I take that but use it as a way, the way that I want to use it.
Many people are doing this. So many people here, like when I talk, somebody asks me about their emotions and I tell the person exactly what their emotions are, they go, oh, AJ analysed that person. No, I didn't. I've never analysed a person in my entire life. Do you know what I do? I feel the person. And all I do is I tell back to them what I feel from them. That's all I do. Right? But the average person doesn't see it that way. You know what they see it as? An analysis, an intellectual process that I go through, which I don't go through, by the way. Right? An intellectual process of analysis. And so they go, oh, AJ does that, so that's what I'll do. I'll do that with all of my emotions. I'll analyse them all, go through them all, check off the boxes and all that kind of stuff.
I'm sure people put that before priority of God. Like they think that they're getting closer to God, but it's all based on a fear of trying to sort their addiction, whatever it is, but all that's an avoidance.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't do any of that, right? But because I can feel what a person feels and be quite accurate with it pretty much all the time, generally people think that that's what I'm doing. But that's only because that's what you do. We often judge another person and what they do based on what we would do in the same circumstance or situation. And the reality is, yes, a lot of people, most people in fact, when it comes to dealing with emotions, analyse them. But analysing your emotion is a mental activity that is usually undertaken to avoid the emotion. And if we're not honest about the desire to avoid the emotion, we're not honest about why all this intellectual activity is now going on. And it's all going on because I'm wanting to avoid the feeling of fear that has now come up in me, and the fear is always about being afraid of pain. Right? And a lot of people say, well, what about if I'm afraid of pleasure? No, at some point in your past, if you're afraid of pleasure now, then at some point in your past, that thing was painful. Had to have been. Right? So, for example, a woman who's afraid of sex, she says, but that's pleasure. No, for many women, that's not pleasure at all. That's pain, because it reminds them of things that have happened to them in their childhood with their dad or their granddad or, with other people. And it's painful. It's painful, right? Not pleasure, it's pain. And so that's why they don't want to feel it. That's the fear, right? Yep. So just because it might be pleasurable now, because everything is through the filter of the emotion of what happened in the past, unless it's gone from the past, you're going to think it's painful. So many women, for example, feel it's painful to be involved in sexual activity.
Well, I know for myself, when I'm happy, my mum was very jealous, and happiness is.
There's a pain associated with happiness. So it's not the happiness that causes your pain, it's the fact of your mum's projection of rage and jealousy that you're unwilling to feel that causes your pain. Do you see? See, the pleasure-based emotions, there had to have been some pain associated with them in the past for us to be so afraid of them. Yeah. Now, if we understand all of that from an emotional perspective about what's going on in our soul, then we'll see that our primary problem that we have is whenever we go intellectual, it's because we're using it as a technique to avoid the feeling of emotion. And it's a very powerful technique. That's why many people use it, right? Of course, many people use other techniques too. Go and get the addiction met. That avoids the emotion. It avoids the pain, right? Deny everything. You get to deny all the pain then. Of course, you get to deny all your pleasure as well and a lot of other things, but a lot of other truth gets denied and everything else gets shut down, but, who cares about that? All we're worried about is shutting down the pain, right? And this is where our focus has become distorted. We've become distorted in that we want to shut down our pain when the reality is we need to learn to love our pain, accept it, and move through it and release it. That needs to be our focus.
And learning how to develop a desire to feel like you're going into the very place you don't want to go. So it's a desire to go into a place.
Yeah, well, you won't go there while you feel you don't want to go there. The reality is you won't. You need to let go of the emotion that causes you to feel you don't want to go there. And that is, again, an emotional process. Fear is always the reason why you don't want to go there. So you see, what I see people doing over and over again is they ask me question about their emotions, and in the end, there's almost one answer, well, two actually answers, but one primary answer is fear. You don't want to feel it. Because if you wanted to feel that, you'd be able to feel everything else. That's the main answer. There's only one other answer, is desire, a lack of it. They're the only two reasons why we don't do anything. Does that make sense? We either have a lack of desire or we are terrified. Thanks, Catherine.
Don't we get to a stage where there's nothing we can do to actually stop the emotion?
Of course.
Yes, it's just...
It's not an automatic place though, Catherine. It's not an automatic place. There had to have been some things that you've stopped doing before you reached that place. You see, it's like we can't assume that, like I know people in the spirit world who've been there for 20,000 years, still in lots of darkness and pain, and they have no desire to work through their emotion and also no desire to feel their pain. Now, why has it taken them 20,000 years?
Well, fear, and they don't want to do it.
Okay, so there's these two aspects of fear, they don't want to do it. So they haven't, through 20,000 years of life, got to the point where it's automatically coming out of them.
But the pain becomes so great, there's nothing else you can do but go into the emotion.
I agree. If you have a desire to go into the emotion, and that's a big if. There's people whose pains are so great and they still have no desire to go into emotion, so they hold that place. And while they hold that place, they hold that place, they hold that place. Many of you are doing that right now, so you can't say that it won't happen in the future. You hold that place, hold that place, hold that. You use your will. You have a very strong desire to use your will to avoid the feeling of pain and avoid the feeling of fear. And while that will is exercised in that direction, you will not feel it. It doesn't matter how much pain you have.
I just kind of find, the older you get, the more
Pain, yeah.
the more pain that you have,
Yeah.
physical
Yeah.
and emotional.
Yeah.
That there's,
That you get to a point where you've submitted to it.
yes.
But a lot of people don't.
I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does build up. That
Yeah. But a lot of people don't. See, a lot of people in your position, what would they be doing? They'd go to a doctor, get as many pills as they possibly can, get some drugs that they can do to tune away from the pain, calm down the fear, calm down the depression, calm down the whatever it is that they're feeling, and they end up, what do you notice for most people on the planet in the Western world at the moment with regard to them being 70 or 80? They've got like a whole drawer of pills, right? That they pop for all sorts of things. Why is all of that happening? It's because they have a fear of pain, right? Popping all of those things. And they can stay in that state now on earth because they've got all this extra assistance. But in the spirit world, you can feed your addictions forever if you wanted to, if you choose to. It all depends on your choice. So this is where your will to make a different choice is so important. Exercising your will to make a different choice. You have exercised your will partially
that's
to
exactly
make
right.
a different choice. Not fully yet,
No.
because you're still contemplating the possibility of maybe going to some medical solution or whatever. Yes. So you have not yet exercised your will fully in that direction, but you've made it partially.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, the average person doesn't do that on earth, doesn't even make a partial choice. There is just no choice in their mind. Avoid pain at all costs, get some physical way of doing that or some emotional way of doing that, and focus on those things and only do that for the rest of my life. That's the way the average person thinks. This is why we have this dominant feeling on the planet of forget about the past. It doesn't help you going back to the past. Right? It doesn't help you to analyse to feel your emotions. It doesn't help you. Don't even try it. Take a pill instead. Right? Why is all of that? That is a huge, if you think about it, almost everybody you probably know thinks that way. Why? Because no one wants to face the fear of their pain. And the way the world is going to change is by having a lot of people starting to face the fear of their pain and developing a desire to actually feel their pain and experience their pain and work through their pain rather than just avoiding it. That's how change is going to occur.